All right, you see something funny behind me, don't you? You're probably wondering, Curtis, what's that big black cloth on your greenhouse? It's a shade cloth. Today I want to talk to you about shade cloths, why you'd want to use them, and what you need to know. That's coming up next on The Urban Farmer. If you're in any climate like mine, you get hot summers, and that can often mean that your greenhouse can almost be unusable during the summer. It holds too much heat, it gets too hot too quickly, you've got plugs and microgreens drying out too quick, and you're in there watering 3 or 4 times a day. That's been my case, that's been my situation for the last few weeks until we've decided to put this shade cloth on here, and it's already made a huge relief in the greenhouse. The reason you do this is because you want to cool your greenhouse down and keep using it during the summer. Some people don't need to use their nursery in the summer, and if that's the case, then you don't need a shade cloth. Other people would use shade cloths on the field. You might put poly low tunnels out in a field, like say you live in Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California, or Southern Florida, you know, even North Carolina, South Carolina, where it's really hot. You want to you could put shade cloth on your beds. And I've done this before. I don't really need to do it so much because I don't get quite as hot as you guys down in the southern states. But you could use a poly low tunnel hoop like this and roll out a shade cloth over your greens. That will help keep your lettuce from getting really bitter. It'll keep it from bolting. But in the nursery, the reason I've got a shade cloth on my greenhouse is because it allows me to keep my microgreens a lot more productive. Let's check it out. So we've been having problems in here over the last few weeks because it's been extremely hot, up 35 degrees Celsius, which is close to 100 Fahrenheit. And that means that it's like 50 degrees Celsius or 110, 120 in here. That's not good for these guys. And that means that I'm having to water them literally 4 times a day, which, you know, takes quite a bit of effort. So we just decided to roll this fabric, this shade cloth, over the greenhouse. And it's a 60% shade cloth, so it's reducing the light by 60, and it makes an immediate temperature difference in here. And that means that I don't have to stress about things drying out too quickly, because when the sun comes up or the clouds clear up, it gets hot really fast in here. And especially when you've got an insulated greenhouse like this one, it can cause a lot of problems quickly. So the shade cloth basically allows me to keep these things growing and healthy during the summer. You're probably going to ask, well, how do they grow if you have such less light? Well, the thing is, microgreens, for one, only need ambient light to grow, especially when you have long daylight hours like we do right now. In our summers, we get at the most 18.5 hours of daylight, and then it moves, you know, the winter solstice, we get a lot less. So a shade cloth wouldn't work in the winter, but in the summer, because we get such long days, it does work. And these only need ambient light. In fact, what it does that helps the microgreens is it actually forces them to get a bit lanky and they stretch. So it actually increases the yield of the crop. And as far as growing lettuces and things like this, we have some plugs here that are going to go on the ground this week. They'll still grow good enough because, like I said, long daylight hours and a decent amount of heat. Whereas again, it wouldn't work too well in the winter. The nice thing about putting up these shade cloths is it's really easy, and you don't have to be as finicky as if you were putting up plastic, because it's not a sail in the same way as a plastic is, because air flows through it. It's a perforated mesh. So when we tacked this on, we just folded it over some 2x4s and then screwed in some 2x4s along the top of the greenhouse. What I've seen growers do in polytunnels like this is you just drape the shade cloth over the tunnel and then they rope them to the sides. So, you know, usually in the summer you might be keeping the sides up on your greenhouse, and so you could just tie ropes to the poles down here and keep it over top of the greenhouse. Again, it's not going to be as susceptible to wind as plastic would, like a sail. So how are you guys using shade cloth? Are you putting it out in the field? What kind of crops are you putting it on? What time of year are you using it? What percentage of cloth are you using? Leave your comments and ask your questions down below. If you want to see more stuff like this, hit the subscribe button right now. Like and share these videos with your friends. And if you want to see more in-depth information like this, check out my online course, profitableurbanfarming.com, and my book, which has a lot of this content in it as well, theurbanfarmer.co. And if you guys would like to make a donation to the show, it's much appreciated and always welcome. You can do that at theurbanfarmer.co/support. Okay, thanks for watching.